Well, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Morning.
Vinny Chopra and Bo Eckstein, my co-host, and this is Vinny and Bo Show. We come live to you at 9:30 a.m. Pacific every Friday. Every Friday. Actually, last week was great. Bo, I was there in Texas at the hotel we purchased, Hilton Garden Inn. It was such a pleasure to be broadcasting from there. Actually, I just came back from Knoxville, Tennessee, Brother John's place right there. We are in the best and final and looking for some big, amazing things over there in Tennessee. And we have a great rock star with us today. Nick Velasquez is here. He's the author of UnlimitedMastery.com and also got a great seller on Amazon. We're going to talk about it. The whole topic is going to be learn, improve, and master. How can we master our skills? What's the power? How can we develop that power to learn and master any skill? Bo, how are you, brother?
Doing well. I'm a bachelor for the next month. My wife is in Mexico, so
yeah,
it's bachelor life. So I get to go out to restaurants and things and eat all the junk food I want when she's not around. So it's been fun. I'm finding some new restaurants, and so I was a bachelor till I was 42, Nick, and so then I got married, and we've been together for a year and a half. So yeah. I went from being a bachelor all that time. So now I'm a bachelor for 30 days, and I don't know what to do with myself. But it's interesting as we change. But so anyways, I'm just gonna do a lot of work and hit the gym in the morning.
Yep.
Same thing I do every day, and just doing some reading and I'm actually really interested. I was reading Nick's bio today, and
yes.
I see that he's into boxing and Thai boxing and jiu-jitsu and all the cool stuff. Your bio kind of reminded me a little bit of Tim Ferriss in a way, which is I think is a compliment. So I hope you take it that way too.
I'll take it that way. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so excited to be here. Excited to learn more.
Totally. Please, everybody joining us, please tell your name and also ask us questions. Let us know where you are from. If you don't mind, we'd love to feature you right here. We got Michael right there, Sheldon right there in Texas, I think. And then we got Kenny coming in from, hello there, Kenny. Please tell us where you're from, and everybody watching us. Again, this becomes also a podcast. After we are done, every week we do it, and it's for you. It's a real estate show. As you know, I'm a syndicator. We are doing 506B, C actually now, $50 million fund. We are buying almost $44 million deals, 3 deals. And then Bo is a great lender. We do a real estate lending and investing show. I have educational academy also where I teach with my team partners and everybody. So it's all about Nick. Let's talk about Nick. Let me introduce you. Nick Velasquez is a passionate learner and devoted student of mastery. He's the author of the popular blog UnlimitedMastery.com. I hope we could see that quickly. Science, where he writes about learning the science, the peak performance, creativity, and mastering skills. His writing has been featured in outlets such as Time Magazine, Time, Forbes, Entrepreneur, and Thrive Global. Nick speaks multiple languages and spends his time between Tokyo and Montreal. Actually, we were just reminiscing Tokyo, what a different world it is over there,
yes.
Just before the show. And of course, Nick has got a great book. I would highly recommend that people can pick that up right there on Amazon. Learn, improve, and master. You could all see that right over there. Welcome, Nick. How are you, brother?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Excellent. Tell us more about you. Yeah. How did you get started? You're from Colombia. Yeah.
Yes, I'm originally from Colombia. And then I moved to Montreal a couple of years ago. But like you said, I spent some time in Tokyo. It's my favorite city. So that's what it is. Interesting enough, so there's this book on learning, but my actual job, I'm a real estate investor. So I own properties here, rent them out. So it was great coming here because we can talk about both things. And I love that you guys are so much into real estate.
Yes. Yeah, that's our breathe, speak, talk, everything. Real estate. And especially we talk a lot more about multifamily, where a
Yes.
lot of people are really jumping into now. For the last 5 years, I would say, we got started about 15 to 18 years back, but it's an exciting field of the cash flow and,
Yes.
leverage and all that for sure. And now
Definitely.
you're also riding the silver tsunami, way where 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every night and all. So tell us more about, your purpose in writing this and how you're making a difference. Do you have some coaching program, or how did you get into this whole field? Yeah.
So the whole point was, first of all, I attended a very different high school than most people. We didn't have any teachers, so no lectures. It was based on the Socratic method. So from Socrates, the philosopher, he believed that we came to the world with all the knowledge, but it needed to be drawn out through questions. So that was how this school was based. So we had to study on our own. And that made learning a process of discovery instead of something that it was being imposed on us. And I think that's what sparked that love for learning things. And for most of my life, I've been picking up different hobbies, going into different things. Like you said, I've gone into jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, motorcycle riding, beer brewing, all sorts of things that are like, I'll pick up different hobbies all the time. But I was frustrated by how difficult it was going from knowledge to skill. One thing is knowing about something, and another one is knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
So that put me on this path of learning about how we learn and how to learn. So going through all the research, neuroscience, and I was just trying to put the information together for something that will become the manual for the rest of my life that I could use to learn better. And throughout the process, it had been so long and it was so difficult that I figured if I'm doing this for myself, I might as well just solve it for everyone else, because I'm sure I'm not the only one. And that's kind of how the book came about. I wrote the book that I wanted to find and couldn't find.
Awesome.
So what are some skills, some takeaways on taking action and kind of implementing and having this become a skill?
Sure. So the book is Learning How to Learn, and I talk about the different processes that go into learning. So for example, first comes understanding something, then you memorize it, then you practice, then you perform, and then you go through this cycle of improving, which has to do with feedback. But if we want to talk about like specific mindsets or strategies, one of the first ones is that as adults, we're already good at a couple of things. So we forgot what it's like to start something new. And then people get into a new skill, it could be a sport or anything, and after a week or so, they realize they suck, and they think, oh, well, I'm just not good for this. So they quit. And that's not the point. Like, the learning process is not easy. And we have this misguided expectation that we should be good right away, and that's not how it works. Now, the whole premise of the project and the book, and that's kind of how it starts, is that most of the time we see the end result. We see the performance. We see the finished book. We see a sportsman playing a championship game. And because we're seeing the end result, the polished piece, we think we can never do what they do. But it's because we're not seeing the process behind it, how they develop their skills. So there's a process that all of us can follow too and find our own greatness. And that's what the book is about, is the process behind greatness. How do we become great ourselves? How do we learn a skill? Then how do we improve it? And how do we turn into mastery?
It's so interesting what you just said. I mean, Nick, people think it's overnight success. And I say that, overnight took 15 years. It's amazing how, with our society, we always want to maybe take those actions to change our behavior and our results. But life comes on the way. So tell us, how can somebody overcome when we are distracted with so many things in life? How can they really get into one single minded focused path?
I think a lot of that has to do with finding something that we really enjoy doing, or that we find meaning or purpose in it. So I talk about first exploring a skill, because many times we imagine one thing to be something that is completely different. Let me give you an example. People think that writing is you go into a cabin and just words are coming out of you so effortlessly, and that's not how it works. So the craft of writing is really rewriting and editing, which feel like you're putting together a puzzle that's fighting back. So if you don't enjoy that part, then writing is not for you.
Yeah.
So or for example, people see a musician on stage and they think, well, I want to be that person. That looks so cool. And in reality, you're not seeing all the hours alone, learning scales, polishing songs, and doing all these other things. Playing live is only like a very small percentage of it. So a big part of it is we explore the skill, then we find that it's something that interests us, and then that's when we drive all the energy towards that. If we want to become masters, mastery demands sacrifice. There's no other way around it. Even the people that we like to think as the geniuses from history, like Mozart, Bach, and these people, they also started from beginners. They didn't know. They made tons of mistakes along the way. It's hard for us to think about it that way, but they had to go through the same process. Everyone has to. But once you find something that it's really meaningful to you, then you're glad to go through the process. You're glad to make the sacrifices.
So true, so true. So I think, what you hit is so terrific, mindset. I mean, you feel that you want to be that person someday, but then you decide today that you got to really get into the training mind, first of all,
Yes.
positioning yourself, why you want to be that person first, or what skill you want to get, right? And do you go through a process of writing down all the good things and the bad things if you don't do it? Like Tony Robbins says, the pleasure and the pain. What's your thinking on that? And then you say, I am going to devote this much time daily, weekly, monthly,
Yes.
whatever, right? Nothing
Yeah.
comes at night. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are several parts in there. So one is, yes, the pleasure and the pain. Everything we learn is going to bring pain, even if it's the thing that we love the most. So there will be pain involved. There will be hardships involved, setbacks, all these other things. But if we picked up something that is really meaningful to us and we're willing to go through that pain, so that's what's important, because the challenges are going to come. There is no way that they won't. So then if we chose the right path for us, the right skill, then it's something that is just part of the process, and then we're willingly go through all that pain. So yes, it does come. Now, when you ask about like the weekly or the daily, a lot of these things is also a process. You start small and then you add more as you go. So if you want to build a habit, one of the main principles is like first consistency and then intensity. So an example for that, let's say in writing, is write every day, even if it's only for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you can wrap it up. So maybe then you write for an hour, then you write for an hour and a half. But the most important thing is first to get the consistency down, and then you add the intensity. So it is a process. You won't start like training every single day for 5 hours a day. It's we can't stand those things. It all has to go through a progression.
So true, so true. Small wins.
Yes.
We got to really bask in the small wins so that we are motivated to do bigger wins later. I think you're so right about that. So take us through an example, if you don't mind. Maybe, I've not read your book yet. I'm going to buy it. I know some of the audience is buying it already, which is great. The key thing is many times we want to be that person, but so many of us just give up.
Yes. I think that part of why we give up, one of them, what we were talking before, is that misconception of what the learning process is supposed to be. So people go into a skill, they don't see that much progress within the first week, and they think, oh, this is just not for me, I don't have the talent. And no, that's how learning works. You suck for a while until you suck a little bit less, and then you become better. So part of that is embracing the process and accepting that that's how it's going to be. So that's one of the major shifts in mindset. And then knowing that you can get better, that anyone can improve. Now, here we can make a big distinction. Let's say a lot of people also don't go into a skill because they think, well, I could never be the best. And yes, to be the very best in the world at something, you need a lot of things going in your favor. So you need your genes, the right genes, you need the right coaching, you need to be the right timing in the right place, you need a lot of luck. There are many things to be the very best. Now, to be among the best, that's different. Now, we have to remember, not everyone can be Michael Phelps. But Michael Phelps wasn't the only swimmer in the Olympic swimming team from the States. There are other great swimmers. So being among the best, you need a little bit less luck, a little bit less of genes, but the hard work is always there. And lastly, is becoming our best. For our best, we don't need genes, we don't need luck, we don't need anything. anyone can work to become their very best. And is that not noble enough? So many times people go into a skill and say, well, I don't want to because I could never be among the best, or I could never be the very best. Well, yeah, but you could be your best. So an example from my life, I don't think I could become the greatest writer ever or among the greatest writers ever. But I could become the best writer I can be. And that's enough for me. And that's what makes me work at it. That's what makes me improve. That's what makes me study writing.
Right.
I love it. I love it. And that's like, so when I was in high school, I was taking Spanish class because I always wanted to learn Spanish. Well, actually in high school, I didn't want to learn Spanish, but I had to take a language class. And I kept on dropping out of it because it felt too hard. And then years later, I was like traveling, and I like the countries I wanted to visit, they were all Spanish speaking countries.
Yep.
And so I took some Spanish classes, and then I went in for 3 weeks and then was excited about it and dropped out again. And then years later, like it's always been on the back of my mind to learn Spanish, but I've always been telling myself like, it's like that thing you want to do, but I guess, I don't know. And then I married a Spanish speaking woman.
Yes.
And now half my family speaks Spanish and doesn't speak any English. So now it's like, I need to learn Spanish. And this is true. This is going on right now. And it's like, I need to learn Spanish, but so I'm thinking, you know, what's the best route now? I've failed at it 5 times. Right? I failed learning Spanish, and as you get older, it's harder to learn a language. I mean, that's what I've been told, and it's hard for me no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought process now is that I want to commit by hiring a tutor twice a week, because now we can get tutoring online. I mean, Nick, what's the process here for me to really, like, I failed on it, I want to do it, but maybe I don't want to do it as much as I think I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your steps? What are your steps? Like now I have a reason to, because I'm going to be going to Mexico all the time, visiting family, and I want to be able to communicate, not use Google Translate. Suegra, da 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 da. Right? It's challenging, and it'd be really cool to be able to communicate with my mother-in-law. And so, how do I do this? I mean, what would be the steps? It sounds really basic, but really, I haven't been able to do it yet. So what would you recommend?
Perfect. This is a great subject. Okay, we're going to have fun with this. So the first thing is, when learning languages, there is going to be many points where you feel like you're not making any progress. And that's normal. That is a consolidation plateau. It's when your mind is kind of solidifying what's happening before you can level up again. So many times you could go through like weeks and weeks and you feel like you're not making any progress. You are. So you have to trust the process. Anyone can learn another language. Now let's take a step back and talk about our capacity to learn languages later in life.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do it. It's not a problem. Nothing happens with your ability to learn later in life. Our brains remain just as plastic. Maybe not just as plastic, but they remain plastic throughout our entire lives. Mm-hmm. It's more of a myth that kids learn a language much faster. And part of it has to do with, well, that's all they do. So yes, of course. The other one is they have to learn it so they can communicate. So you have a need there, which is really important in learning. So there are other considerations that makes it feel like young people or kids learn a language faster. But when we look at it closer, it takes them a couple of years too to learn a language. It's just that they're very dedicated to it. And they have no other responsibilities. Like for you, you have work, you have family life, you have all these other things going on. But for like a young kid, maybe if it's the very first language, obviously they have to. If it's the second language because they move somewhere else, same thing, they have to do it, and they're in school and they're learning it for a couple of hours a day. So that extra effort accounts for a lot. So that's one thing. Now, as we grow up, it's harder to pick up new accents, but that's for a whole different reason than our capacity to learn. Actually, is our brain working the right way? Because as we grow up, we start using what we already have in our mind to learn new things. So we're using the language you already know to kind of learn the new one. And that's why our accent is the same. Also, if we don't study phonetics, then we're not going to fix our accent. But if you did study phonetics, which most language schools don't teach, then you can pick up the new accent. It's not a problem. So there's nothing wrong with your capacity to learn, and you can learn it. Let's start with that. That's the first thing. Second, you have to be willing to make mistakes and look foolish. Mm-hmm. And this is a hard one. And I've been guilty of that one, because learning Japanese, I've noticed that my friends that were in the same class, the ones that were willing to make mistakes and look quote unquote foolish, they were the ones that were improving the fastest. because they were practicing.
Mhm.
I wasn't, because I wanted to speak well before I would go out to speak. And it doesn't happen that way. If you think about it as someone saying, oh, I want to lift, I don't want to go and do heavy lifting because I'm not strong yet. Guess what? It's lifting heavy that is going to make you strong. So it's the same with languages. You have to go out and make mistakes and practice, and that's what's going to make you better. Then the other one is obviously practice. It can't just be the textbooks. It can't just be the learning the vocabulary. You have to practice. So you have a lot of people to practice with. You're just going to have to force yourself. That's another one. Now, if you want more tactical stuff, there is an app that I love. I have no affiliation with them. They just do a great job. It's called Fluent Forever. And it's based on, a spaced repetition system, which is really good for memory. Also mnemonics and other things. Because if you think about it, the chunk of a language, the biggest chunk is vocabulary.
Yeah.
If you know the words, you can communicate, even if your grammar sucks. So people could understand more or less what you're trying to say if you at least know the words and your grammar is weak. So you start with the words, and learning words in a language is mostly the work of memory. So if you study a little bit of mnemonics and how to improve your memory, which is very easy, then you learn the vocabulary. Basic vocabulary in any language is about 1,000 words. And you can get that down within a couple months. Once you have that, then you start working on the grammar. The thing is that language schools, they work a little bit differently. But if you go through a different process, and let's say this app is great for that, then I think you're going to have more success. But you're going to have to practice and make tons of mistakes. That's the one that's the hardest, but that's the one that's going to make the most difference.
Thank you. I'm going to check out that app. I've been playing around in the past with Duolingo, which is, I think, is decent. But I want to check your out.
Duolingo too. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to. That was good advice. Great advice. And next time
What's the name of the app again? What's the name?
Fluent Forever.
Fluent Forever. All right.
Yes.
I hope everybody listens to that. I think it's
great
great to know more languages. That's fabulous. And you know how the circle comes. The life is a circle. But you wanted to learn Spanish, you didn't want to, and now the whole circle is coming when your wife is, from Mexico, and so beautiful, so wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I always knew in the back of my mind that I was going to marry a lady from a different country, and it just came true. So it just proved to me that if you envision, right, like if I envision that I, have Vinny's money at some point, and if I keep that vision in my mind, I'm gonna have Vinny's money, right?
You will have it. I'm telling you, not my money, but you'll make a lot more money than even me.
So yeah, that's great. So Nick, let's transition, which is interesting because Vinny and I we love personal development. Vinny's been following the big personal development guys like Tony Robbins and all this for his whole life. And the interesting thing too is that you're also a real estate investor. So interested how you got started in real estate investing, and how are you using your skills to excel your real estate investing business?
Sure. So real estate, it's a funny story because when I was younger, I wanted to be a rock star, as ridiculous as that sounds, but that was my dream. So I grew up playing guitar in my teens, and I just wanted to be a rock star. So I went to music school in Boston. And when I was there, I saw all these great musicians, and I thought, wow, I mean, we all want the same thing, and it's very unlikely that this is going to happen to me. So what am I going to do for money? And I didn't want to end up having to teach guitar to make money. Not that there's anything wrong with teaching, but that's not the path I wanted. Like, jumping into music is already risky enough. And then having to struggle for the rest of my life, that's not something that I wanted. So I figured, you know what, let's take care of my finances first. And then I can play because I love it and not because I have to. So that led me to do research, like what's the fastest, easiest way to make money? And real estate just kept showing up. I guess nowadays you can have e-commerce, which has been a very viable option for many people, doing online courses and things like that. But when I got started, being like more analog economy, it was still like, hey, real estate is one of the best vehicles to create wealth. So I thought, I guess it's real estate. I had no passion for real estate. I had no drive. I have no identity as a real estate investor, really. But it was a means to an end. It was my way of making money.
Yeah.
And it ended up doing really well. And now it allows me to do my other projects. So it's like writing the book and doing these other things. And it's real estate that takes care of all of that. Now, how does that tie in with the learning part? It's kind of the same. And I think I'm going to focus on the most important lesson here, which is there's a difference between waiting for an opportunity and preparing for an opportunity. So I had been learning and studying real estate and running numbers on properties and analyzing deals for many years before I had the first chance of buying one. So I knew when it came along that I was ready. That's very different than, for example, last year when the stock market crashed because of the pandemic. I had been waiting for a stock market crash for a long time, but I had not been preparing. So when it happened, I made tons of mistakes. And when I should have been making a killing, I was actually losing money because I entered in the wrong vehicles and stuff. And that's the greatest lesson I got. There is a big difference between waiting for an opportunity and preparing for an opportunity. If you're not preparing, first of all, you might not recognize an opportunity when it comes. And even if it falls on your lap, you wouldn't know what to do with it. Wow. So that's a really important one.
Very profound. Very profound.
Are you investing in Canada, or where do you like to invest? Are you doing like vacation rentals, or what's your kind of strategy right now?
For real estate, I'm investing mostly here in Montreal, and I have apartment buildings, so multifamily.
Oh, very good.
Cool. I used to flip before, but I flipped because it was also a means to an end. I used to flip because I wanted to create enough capital to then put it into something that was creating the cash flow. So that was my goal, is like, let's create a big lump of cash and then put that cash to work. So, and now it's just kind of taking a step back and letting those properties kind of increase in value and bring the revenue every month. So
love that, Nick. I would love to, the audience that are watching us and everything, as you know, I'm in syndication world. My life has changed in the last 12 years. Totally, many fold, 20x, let's say, or whatever, because of syndication, because there are so many people around us who have money in the retirement funds, in cash, in stock market, you name it, crypto now, But the thing is, if you could powerfully ask them and put together a game plan to buy larger assets where you could give them cash flows and equity gains, so they become your partners, right? And then you can scale up bigger. Yeah. So
I understand that model, and it's a great model. And I think one of the reasons I didn't go into it is because my idea of building a business or creating wealth, I always thought you're kind of like the Superman going alone and trying to make it on your own. And then you realize later on, like, the power is really in people. If you can bring teams together and cash together, put all these resources towards the same goal, that's just going to make you wealthy beyond your dreams. But as an early entrepreneur, you think it's just you and it's you against the world. And I bought into that ideology. So I never took those larger steps of, hey, let's put deals together. I had the opportunity about 2 years ago, and I'll share this story with you.
Sure.
So I had some investors from the States that wanted to do really big deals here in Canada. So that would have taken my business like through the roof. Yeah. And I remember coming out of that meeting with my partner, and I looked very sad or angry. And my partner, like, what's happening, man? This is great news. And like, it sounds great, but if I do decide to go into this, I'm going to sacrifice the last years that I have of my youth trying to make more money. And I don't think I need more. I think I want to travel some more and do other things. But if I do go into these big deals, I'm going to be working nonstop. So it was really hard to make that decision of people trying to throw money at you and say, you know what, this is not the time of my life. It would have been great a couple of years ago. I don't want to do this right now. I don't really need more. And I'm going to try to just live in Japan for a little bit longer and do all these other things. And I can't do both. So it was a really hard choice to make. And I wish I had known more about syndication early in my career, because
you
I'll
did
be in very different positions.
Nick, you never look back. You did the right thing because you wanted to travel. And that's what is so important in life, is to be just passionate about and be focused on what's right for you at that time. And this multifamily syndication can come anytime when you're ready.
Or you can invest as a limited partner in the deal and still, if you have extra cash. And so that makes a great point, Nick, that, some of us never want to own 4,000 units, right? Some of us, if I look at my life right now, it changes, right? Like, I'm 44. When I'm 54, what am I going to want? When I'm 64, what am I going to want? When I'm 74, when I'm 84, it's going to change. It's changed since I was 20. Totally. And so I love what you're doing. First of all, you're doing what you want, which is traveling, and you like to be in Japan. that stimulates you.
Mhm.
And so like, if I look at myself now, like I'm thinking, geez, I would love to just start spending more time in Mexico,
Yep.
live on, like spend a month, bring my laptop, still work. But
Sure.
I think that, I don't know how old you are, Nick, but sounds like you're younger.
Hey, I'm the youngest here.
Yeah. But, I think the younger generation, even younger than me, people in their 20s and 30s, they want that freedom. They know that they can bring their laptop and be efficient anywhere.
Sure.
Yes.
So it's really like lifestyle by design. My friend and Vinny's friend Mario, we always used to call it the flip-flop lifestyle, that we want to have the flip-flop lifestyle. We can do work when we want to work, where we want to work. I don't mind working hard, but I really would rather be working hard, on the coast, on the beach in Mexico,
Yes.
and being efficient. So that's where I really want to gear my business to. So I appreciate the fact, because Vinny is like a anomaly, because there's not as many of Vinny. Vinny's like just like, he's going to be like 100, just 4 a.m. He's like texting you, working, right? Like not everybody is not everybody. We gotta all find our own paths in life. And so I really appreciated that you said that. And I think that's great that you can always make money.
Have whatever you want in life. The good part is, as you grow, as you take care of your needs, like I don't need to work a day in my life, but the best thing is that you can have 5-6 vacations. And just like you said, both charities and other stuff, that's what motivates me, and a lot of things which are on my agenda to help the seniors and help with a lot of things. So those, different things are there. But you're right. You got to be living on your own terms. That's what is more important. Paying the gratitude every morning, the life we are living and where we are going. Yeah.
That's a very important point. And just by talking to you, I can see you're very passionate about real estate. So at that point, the work and enjoyment line starts to blurry. So at that point, it's really okay to just put as much time as you want into your business, because it's also what you enjoy the most. I don't have the same passion for real estate. For me, it was a means to make the money. And then I thought, like, now I need to find a balance. Because yes, I'm going to need money for the rest of my life. It's an important part of life. No one can deny that. But I got to the point, like, really making more, like, what? I'm going to buy a bigger house, but I'm happy with mine. I like it. Coming to the point, yes, I do want to make more, but then you think, at what cost?
Yeah.
And that's what's really important. It's like, what am I sacrificing if I go for more money? And is it going to bring me back the benefits that I want? So I decided, no, I want to scale back and do the other things that fulfill me more. So that allowed me to focus on my book. It allows me to spend a couple of months out of the year, which to me, that's invaluable. Like being in that culture, being in that country. And I have the money to support it. So it's like, would I sacrifice those 3 months to try to make more money and then make it for what if I'm not doing what I want?
I totally agree with you. It's not making the money at all. It's the living on your own terms. It's to have the passion. I know my wife says, after retirement, you're so busy. I said, you know what? I don't work. I play, literally. I mean, I can talk for 17 hours and be as excited and everything. Anyway, it's such a pleasure to have you, brother. And good luck to you. And, kudos on your great book, 260 positive reviews, guys. Learn, Improve, and Master by Nick Velasquez. Thank you so much. How can people reach you?
Thank you so much for having me. I think the easiest place to reach me is my blog. It's unlimitedmastery.com. And there are all the links to my social media and also to the book. So that'll be the easiest, unlimitedmastery.com.
All right. Thank you again. Thank you for time. Any last comments, Bo, buddy?
No, I enjoyed our conversation as always. I love these Fridays because it's always, we got really interesting guests, and I don't know, I get a lot out of just listening to other people, and I think that's just another great way to learn and grow, right? Like everybody I meet has such tremendous value, and it's just it could be a completely different topic. It doesn't have to be real estate related. It could be whatever. It could be a different business, but I always get little nuggets out of every conversation. I think that's important for people, is to stop and like listen these calls that we do, because we're bringing on these tremendous guests that have such wisdom. So anyways, just another great call, and look forward to next Friday.
Yes, look forward to it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.